I have a question with I'm right there beside Benson on the east side.
East side?
Of his driveway where that culvert is. Is that the best system, or, I mean, I've seen that, and granted it's not as big as what you're proposing, and I hope that takes care of it, but with the farming practices we have today and where everything's more, you know, there's more trash on top of the ground, I've seen that plug several times and that goes over his driveway.
The pipe actually physically plugs up?
Well, you get the stalks coming in around it, and pretty quick you have not enough volume to get it through. Is that a better system than just a wood platform bridge to get across it with bridge plank, or is it the cost of it? Is it enough cheaper that?
Well, basically, when we're sizing a culvert for the purpose of a field crossing, the culvert is basically being sized very similar to basically that of a bridge. That's why 96 is big, is because we don't want normal flow drainage going down through that facility. We're trying to prevent basically a major head rise to get through that pipe. You will still have storm events, larger storm events. You get a 50-year, 5-inch rain in a 24-hour period. The ditch system and the crossings and stuff aren't sized to pass that water without possible out-of-bank flows and everything occurring. Okay, but you are correct. Ideally, a bridge out there allows the full capacity of the open ditch, to pass under it without any restriction. The big culvert, due to costs and maintenance and upkeep, is the second best alternative, and that's why, if properly sized, we have found that they function just as well, I would say, as basically a bridge, but they need, and a lot of times they're very large in size to basically do that. You typically are only using a half, 2/3 of that pipe. The top portion of it's just there to support the soil so you can cross it, and the bottom's big enough in circumference to basically give the capacity for the water to flow through. So yes, a 96-inch will, I'm glad to hear that my sizing is reasonable in the fact that the 78 is not considered to be adequate.
You're almost going to have trouble getting dirt on top of 96.
Well, you might be right. I mean, the ditch is not that deep there.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is, too, I understand it's an old road bed from when there used to be a dirt road that went across the section on the west side of the line fence. It's about so much higher than our ground. So that's the end of the surface water.
I mean,
running across the top. Everything has to go through this culvert, and you can see 40-50 acres back to the east underwater, and the ditch is 3-4 foot deep
on the
west side of it, where the water's,
on the west side, it's only 3-4 feet deep in the ditch, and there's all this water on the channel. Well, part of the issue, I mean, there is a large volume of water that comes from the north here. And basically, again, this stretch of the open ditch down through here in 6 isn't itself that deep and large in carrying capacity. So one of the questions we automatically had, I hope that ain't...
Something's going on. What is that?
It doesn't sound like a vehicle. Is it a vehicle? Oh. But because of this, there is times where the larger storm events, it was obvious from our computations on this facility that there's out-of-channel flows. This ditch floods out at times when water's trying to get into it, because the carrying capacity of the open ditch itself isn't large enough to take those large storm events. But overall, this ditch probably has lost in the neighborhood of possibly 35+% of its capacity, cross-sectional area, due to buildup of sedimentation and stuff that's occurred in the channel. And so by cleaning the channel, you get that carrying capacity back. Plus, we rebuild the spoil. Not ours. we rebuild the spoil bank along the sides, which gives us more cross-sectional carrying capacity, basically, with that spoil bank being built back up on the side slopes. Plus, there are surface pipes that have completely washed out in locations along this thing too, that are going to be addressed, that will help improve in locations water getting into the channel, and the channel having better carrying capacity, keeping that water from actually staying out in the field.
You're also pretty fortunate that they overdug it in the 60s, because now we're able to dig it deeper than you would have been able to had they not done that.
That's true.
That's
So, you will see a significant change in the carrying capacity of that open ditch. Other questions?
Colin?
Yeah.
I open the floor to you too. Is there any?
I just encourage you to make a mental note if you've got a grass strip, filter strip, that you let them know about it out at the FSA office, so that you get the waiver and they're happy with you and they don't cry foul. And that, just like I mentioned to Gene, if you've got private tile that's you think is draining a different way, so that there shouldn't be as much benefit because you've privately taken care of it, we need to know those things. And you're always welcome to call me up, you're welcome to call Ivan, you're welcome to call the Supes. So if you have questions and you forget them today, we're here to try and answer them for you. That's all I have.
Okay. With that, then, what I would recommend to the Board of Supervisors acting as trustees was Dean.
I'd like to wait for him.
Okay.
If we could.
The first step would be to adopt would be to adopt the clean-out plan with the